Vijay Valecha, the CMO of Century Financial. So Vijay, are you here? Looking good. Come on up. Round of applause, please. Welcome. And maybe invite your co-panelists onto the stage. And, yep, all yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody's having a good time, and it's definitely a very, very exciting space to be in. I think gaming industry is not just revolutionizing to the blockchain in Middle East, but all over the world. And that's what we are here to talk about, that how actually it's bringing about a positive change in this part of the world as well. Yes, a lot of questions that people do have, that is Middle East lagging behind. But again, I think it's just a matter of time that we'll be catching up. So I'd like to invite my esteemed panelist for this one. Please welcome Mr. Bijan. A round of applause. He's the partner at Cypher Capital. Can we also have Mr. Omar Rahim? Is Mr. Omar here? I think he's gaming somewhere. So we can have Mr. Abdelrahman Hazim. He heads the blockchain technology at Quara Holding, and definitely a very big investor. You should be looking at him if you are looking for investments in this part of the world. And we can also, last but not the least, welcome Mr. Alex van der Baan. Big round of applause for him. He's the CEO and co-founder of Beemup. A lot of you must have not heard of Beemup, but Beemup is a really up and coming metaverse space in Netherlands and trying to change how metaverse actually works on. So he is in direct competition with Mr. Zuckerberg. So it's a pleasure to meet all of you, and it will be glad if you can introduce yourselves a little bit as well to the audience.
So I think with me.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Bijan.
So my name is Bijan. I'm from Cypher Capital. Cypher Capital is $100 million private fund that the goal is that we invest into the GameFi, DeFi, and Web3. And we are looking at the project that we can help them, that they scale up in the MENA region. And also we are building a hub for a crypto projects that they can come. It's in Jumeirah Beach residence that they can come in. And basically we help them in the formation of their company as legal or any sort of stuff.
Thanks, Mr. Bijan. For all those who don't know Mr. Bijan, I'm sure most of you actually already do, but he's one of the leading venture capitalists in this part of the world. So definitely all your ideas should be pitched to him before anybody else.
Hi there, everyone. This is Abdelrahman Hazim. I flew all the way here from Riyadh. I've been interested in the tokenization business, real estate, gamification, and tokenization in general. We've been doing NFT in Saudi for the last 2 years, as well as we're joining now the Metaverse business. Just call it a game and we'll be right there.
And Mr. Alex.
Thank you. My name is Alex van der Baan from the Netherlands. I'm CEO of Beemup. We are a company, we help businesses and brands to come into the metaverse. We create exciting experiences. And recently we have been building Your Open Metaverse, the first layer 1 metaverse where we allow companies to basically host their experiences to a global audience. Thank you.
And are we looking to compete with Mr. Zuckerberg directly, or is it going to be in alliance?
Well, perhaps for the esteemed audience, it's good to make a disclaimer first. I was very happy to be able to get the opportunity to talk today. However, my experience with the specific local market here is perhaps not up to spec with my esteemed panelists. So I'm trying to take it a bit more global. But yeah, I think one of the issues that we've seen, we started our company Beemup 2 years ago. We were doing the first TEDx talks in a 3D VR environment. And what we saw is that when we were helping companies to come into the metaverse, to start opening up their metaverse marketing channel, it's increasingly difficult to bring your own company out there, an end-to-end customer journey, without actually losing your IP to large platforms like the ones from Mr. Zuckerberg, let's say Fortnite, Roblox, all these environments. And we believe that if you invest into the metaverse, into your own content, you need to own it. It needs to be on your balance sheet, and that's what we're building right now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alex. So actually, I thought we'll start off with introducing how gaming works, but looking at the audience here, I don't think it require a lot of introduction. So we can actually get down to the more intricate questions from the start itself. Mr. Alex, could you please start with how NFTs will actually change the space of gaming, and how exactly are we looking at NFTs in the gaming space alone?
Sure. I think in the previous panels, I think we already touched upon this topic. I think what we're seeing today is that the amount of people globally that actually own an NFTs is relatively small. So liquidity is an issue, and also basically utility is an issue. So what we're focusing on is basically, if you use NFTs, then we should focus on how that can impact your audience, how you can have an impactful experience, and how we can actually shape ownership in a Web 3.0 fashion. And I think that's what's lacking right now. And I'm super excited to see that so many of the businesses and companies we've spoken to over the last few days are working to improve that.
That's great. Mr. Bijan, how about you? You think that NFTs will actually grow in this part of the world? Because I mean, UAE and Middle East have been lacking behind the rest of the world in the NFT space.
Exactly. So we in MENA region, the MENA region is one of the fastest growing in the gaming space. So we have 100 million people that playing games, and they average spend 30 to 40 minutes a day. Now, involvement of NFT in the games will essentially, NFTs traditionally you buy them to as a store of value, or it has a resemblance for you, but in the games it works differently. So when you hold these NFTs in the games, you make money. So, and it was I give you an example. So we were looking at the game yesterday. I was playing a game, blockchain game, and there was this NFT 10 edition. Each one was $600,000, and I was telling myself, how the hell somebody buys this? And then I look at the website that people does Excel sheets that there is ROI in NFT for 10 months. So all of a sudden it becomes an investment. So you buy that NFT, you can use it in the game, and at the same time you are making money. So NFTs in GameFi, it becomes sort of a tradable asset as an alternative to the token of the game.
Oh, that's really interesting to know. So Mr. Abdelrahman and I are in a very similar space where we both are into fractionalization of real estate as well. Do you think NFT also plays a part in gamifying as well as the fractionalization of games?
Definitely. I think for the younger generations, investing in real estate is somehow considered to be boring. So what we can do is bringing Web 2 to Web 3. And this is something that we have been encouraging in Saudi, is to bring the idea or the concept of investing in Metaverse for the younger generations. I think the Saudi younger generations are more interested in crypto space and in bringing the traditional ways of investment because, you know, Saudi Arabia is a very huge area. And the previous generations used to buy so many lands, and then they would, you know, trade it and build the properties on it. So this is something that it's fed to the community there, and the younger generations would be very interested in the new concept of bringing real estate to the metaverse and gamifying the whole concept of investment in real estate.
Oh, that's very nice to know. And Mr. Abdelrahman, how do you think about the DeFi movement? Do you think that is actually a revolution, or do you think that it's just a firecracker which is just going to be burning out very soon?
You couldn't tell at this moment, but I think for the next few years, it's going to show if this is a hype or this is an actual opportunity.
How about you?
I think what we're seeing right now is, I think throughout all different verticals, that everybody is really looking into the metaverse overall. And sometimes it's people just hear it. I need to have a metaverse strategy, if I know something about it or not. But more and more, I think if from architecture, from retail space, from sports, media and entertainment, we actually see a lot of real questions and demand coming in, and people actually allocating budgets for real projects that are happening soon.
So do you think the NFT space will be the new end of marketing as well?
Perhaps if you make it a little bit broader, I think NFT is a vehicle. If you can deploy proper utility in the NFT, then it can be a greater part of the full, let's say, metaverse portfolio. But I think that's going to be the key issue. I think we can't go into 2022 with just another edition of the zoo with the apes and the frogs, etc. It needs to be real utility.
Thanks a lot. Mr. Bijan, a lot of people actually, let's say that we on the VC side, it's very easy for us to understand how to invest in blockchain, how to invest in the gaming side of it. But in general, how does a retail investor or any layman who doesn't understand blockchain that well, how do they actually get into this space? How do they actually, invest in gaming through blockchain, and, how would they go about it?
So let me answer this. I want to touch base on the previous question because it's a very important question in my mind. So when we say GameFi is here to stay, I will answer this with, we have to, eventually the game developers, they have to develop the games that people really want to play, right? Yes, you can play $20 to $40 playing a game right now, like Town Stars or other games, but do you really play it that you love it, or you just playing it to earn the money? Yes, $20 to $40 a day in a lot of countries is more than a wage of some people. So yes, it's a lot. It's very interesting. But what is going to push the GameFi and gaming into the next step is that you can play games Call of Duty and you make money. You can play like a World of Warcraft, League of Legends. So those stuff will essentially push the GameFi to the next level. And as an investor, either you have two choices essentially to invest. Either you can buy the token of the game, or you buy the NFTs that it's getting used in different games. So there is this two avenue for somebody that wants to start. There are NFTs as low as $10, as I mentioned, goes all the way up. But this is the two-way essentially you can participate in investing.
Okay.
If I may interrupt here, I think it's a very tricky two sides of the spectrum. We are not trying to convert each gamer to be an investor, and it's not the vice versa as well. So simplifying the concept of gaming here, and what my panelist has mentioned, is to simplify the game play to earn concept here, rather than just allowing each one to invest and becoming greedy on changing the game concept to an investment more like approach.
But don't you think that there'll be, if there are more than 1 million games and there are different tokens for each game, that will actually become a hassle rather than an actual advantage at one point of time?
Definitely, but the thing is, if you would simplify, let's say if we are tokenizing a chess game, for example, then let's focus on how would you actually win the chess game rather than how would you make an NFT out of each single asset in this game. And this is something that we're really missing at the moment. We're creating this new kind of games that you would just modify the basic actions that we do in a daily routine game to something that that you would buy and you would invest more in to be part of. And this is the thing that we need to really take care of.
Okay. Mr. Alex, we are seeing gamifying not just in games, but actually in everything. We are seeing even banking solutions having gamifying solutions. We are seeing even the most serious businesses on the planet, in manufacturing factories, having a gamifying solution to make their workers a little bit more relaxed, a little less stressful. We are also seeing that all the users want some gamification on the applications as well. Do you think that is something which gamifying is all about, or it's just about the gaming itself?
No, I think it poses a great opportunity. I think in Western Europe, a lot of corporations have been going through a process called serious gaming, where you can actually get your team, get all your processes, get everybody aligned. Because gaming, not just for our kids, but also for adults, can really be a powerful force to get people together and to connect. So when we look at the next stages going into the metaverse over the next few years, what we and what our team really strongly believes is that if you have a good experience, a good storyline in that metaverse, then you can make proper impact. We don't personally, or our company doesn't really believe in just making digital twins, because we already live in a world where we have the laws of physics, where we have gravity. And I think people really want to be in an experience where you can actually up that game. And that's what we're trying to do while still maintaining the, let's say, the customer journey from our clients.
And Mr. Bijan, do you also think that gamifying in every industry is required, or it should just stick to gaming side of it only?
No, when we are looking at the whole ecosystem as he mentioned. So you have to look at the metaverse, you have to look at the NFT, you have to look at DeFi. So the combination of all of this will create a great, let's say, marketplace, or a great place for people to enjoy. Now we call it a game, or we call it a game within the metaverse, or we call it an NFT within the game, within the metaverse. It's all connected. We can, it's all part of one package in my mind.
So it will all become a game eventually.
The life is a game, as they say. Right?
That's very well said. Mr. Abdelrahman, you also think that life is a game and everything will become eventually gaming?
Definitely, yeah. I think for the next few years, we'll see people adopting living in the metaverse rather than being here, right? Life is a game. So why not moving to the metaverse itself and playing the game with the new terms and conditions that we have? If it's going to be a gamify concept with the DeFi, hell yeah, let's do it.
So, Mr. Abdelrahman, we talk about metaverse a lot, and everybody's focusing on the software side of metaverse. But there's hardly any talk about improving the hardware side of it, because if you actually use the Oculus, you cannot use it for more than 15 minutes. Your eyes will start burning.
Yeah,
How people actually trying to improve the hardware side of it so that actually the software is more usable?
Yeah, for the time being, this is a very big limitation that we have. People are trying to adopt more, bring mobile phones into metaverse, as well as the haptics utilities that you have. But I believe for the next few years, this is not going to be any limitation for that. What we're going to have is more simpler versions of VR glasses, as well as the XR glasses that we're going to have anytime soon. Most of the metaverse softwares or platforms that we have is playable actually in the PC. So you can play it using your browser. And maybe within the few years, it's going to be more accessible with VR items.
Thanks.
I
Mr.
think,
Alex, I'm sure you have been, I think you're working on something on the hardware side as well?
yeah, well, I think when we started 2 years ago, the term metaverse, obviously, we couldn't use. Basically, when we did our pitch, people were usually rather confused. So we coined the term immersive storytelling platform that appeared to work with our target audience. Looking at hardware, I think we don't like to talk about VR headsets because it's a dissatisfier. Because people then come to us and say there was VR in 1999. 10 years later, somebody told me about it, and today you're going to be the next guy talking about the breakthrough VR. So we're basically technology agnostic. If an experience works on a mobile phone, it works better on a 70-inch screen, and it works even better on your VR headset. So we shouldn't really talk about technology. What we should talk about, and I think that's one of the great drivers of Metaverse today, is the fact that we have really amazing cloud technology. You know, the fact that we as a relatively small startup, that we can use pixel streaming, so we don't have to bother our clients with, you need a Pentium or an AMD or whatever. You just use whatever you want to use, and the cloud will fix everything for you. And I think that's the reason I think today why Metaverse is working. And when Second Life started, 10, 15 years ago, it was a big issue.
If you had to recommend to all the audience one VR headset which you think works the most seamless, which would you recommend?
Well, personally, we're in the Microsoft startup ecosystem. We work with a headset from Hewlett Packard that we're really happy about because it's fully open. And of course, we also develop on top of the Meta Oculus, of course, because that's what most people will have available to them in the house, also due to the price point. But we firmly believe, because we create experiences for brands and for companies, that having an open ecosystem also on the hardware side will be the future.
Mr. Bijan?
I guess Alex is an expert in this field and he covered everything. But the only thing I want to add to it is because we see something every day, we read about Metaverse every day, it increases our expectation. When we want to look at the stuff, we have to look where we were last year and where we are right now. So we have to let the developers build their ecosystem, and it takes time. And as we go forward, I'm sure all this will be sorted out through time. It's a new technology. It needs time to develop or bring it to the perfection.
That's very nice. Coming to what we were talking about earlier as a play to earn kind of a scenario, do you think play to earn is here to stay, or is it just like how digital marketing when started, every company had a burn capital where they would initially burn and then eventually the names became big enough and then they stopped burning, and then eventually the earning part reduced for almost all the digital marketing plays? Do you think that is something which is going to be the trend with play to earn in games as well?
So, okay, let's look at this space. So when we started from gaming, right, the traditional gaming that people were playing, then we had game networks that you could play in multiplayers. Then we moved to in-app purchases. So you could spend thousands of dollars in a game. And now we are in this concept. What happened basically is before the publisher would take 100% of the money. Now the publisher takes some part of the money, and part of the money will come back again to the publisher so they can continuously develop the game. But 80% of the money will go back to the community. So that's the reason I really believe that this is here to stay. It's not a house of cards. It's a legit sort of profit sharing between the publisher and a consumer.
I think everyone there's a gamer inside each one of us, and for the next period of time, people will refuse actually to play any game that is not play to earn. It's made to be sustained, and the idea to be community driven is something that that would give the strength to such game that you would vote on adding character, removing something in the protocol, etc., etc. And the idea to play to earn, it's something that people would take more seriously as a full-time job maybe. And companies will be involved in this for the next period of time, I think.
I think the panelists from their investment perspective have probably more vision on this, but I think as long as you have an intrinsic motivation to play a game, and you can actually combine or connect it to an intrinsic value on the side of the studio, then everything works well. I think everybody's also seen, some more negative stories of gaming farms in Southeast Asia. I don't think that that's what gaming studios envision, and I think we probably should stay away from that. But if you can do the motivation and the value thing, and you can bring that together, then it can definitely be an instrument to use.
So you believe that it will keep developing and keep improvising by the play to earn, and hence it will just become a self-sustaining model eventually?
I think the problem is if in probably the first iteration of the individual who thought of this, it was a good thing. But people are now, I think, more and more using it as a blunt marketing instrument, and I think in that respect it's not working. So I think if you just say X to earn, it can be where to earn, it can be promo to earn, whatever. I think there's going to be a whole range of possibilities to earn in gaming or metaverse environments. But just throwing money at public without a vision, I think is not gonna last.
Coming to your side of the coin, where metaverse will pretty much be the core of, let's say, events and conferences in the future, and probably Mr. Hadi will be calling us for a metaverse event next year for the Agora blockchain. Do you think that is a real possibility in just 1 or 2 years' time, or do you think we have still a long time away from reaching that part of it?
I'm sure that there's definitely that possibility. I'm not sure if our company would create it, because what we try to do is We basically want to create environments where you can actually sell dreams and not sell reality. And I think if we would combine, if we would sort of copy this room, we would probably copy reality. And what our team's trying to do is a bit more on the dreamy side. So that's why we're a bit more focusing right now on sports, media, and entertainment. And we're steering away a little bit from B2B. We'll expect them to return in 2 or 3 years when pain is increasing on their side. And then we'll be more than happy to assist them.
Mr. Bijan, do you think that's really possible, or that, you know, the physical element will eventually never go, so we'll have to come and meet each other face to face?
I mean, to be honest with you, since I came to this industry at 2015, a lot of things I thought it's impossible, and now it's possible. So I believe everything is possible. The way the world is going to this direction, I know a lot of people are skeptical about the metaverse, but this is how it's going to be. People have to adapt. I mean, I have this example. So I believe 2% of the world, they are doing what they like in life, and they have the life that they like. It's just 2%. That 2%, they don't like metaverse, which is a lot of people that are sitting here. But 98% of the world, they don't like what they do, and they can have what they don't have here in metaverse.
Correct.
So that's the reason that will push the boundaries in metaverse in my mind.
That's very interesting. Mr. Abdelrahman, you also believe that eventually we'll all be in some remote location and meeting each other just this way?
Definitely. I think people are more open to this now. It's not about the adoption, it's about providing. If it's there, they're going to use it. And as my colleague has mentioned, that stuff that we don't have here, you can have it there. So yeah, it's about creating the next life, a futuristic and a dreamy version of our life.
So at that point, we'll pretty much be in shorts, wearing just the jacket.
Yeah, I think just a brief point on this. I think also for us industry professionals, I think there's a lot of talk about bringing all these concepts to the general audience. And I think it's also good to know that, you know, everything comes at its due course. So, you know, there are a lot of trailblazers here in the room, people, you know, working in technologies that are completely new and innovative. It's not necessarily, you don't need to explain this to everybody you meet in the supermarket. When people are ready for this, it's acceptable, you know, we can explain it to them. But by simply pushing out all these terms and phrases and jargons that we use here, people are getting completely confused. Some of them even get scared. I mean, there's a lot of talk in the media also right now about how Metaverse is going to destroy our lives. Because people, they have a difficult part of understanding what it will be. And I think it's our jobs also as ambassadors to just trying to focus on all the positive things that we can do with technology, as I heard today with DLT technology overall. And I think, you know, then we're going into the right direction.
I think as adaptation, like it's always been for us over centuries, this is the new adaptation that we have to probably learn. But in terms of adaptation, let's assume that the human race will obviously keep evolving. But do you think regulators will also adapt really fast, or do you think regulations in this part of the world or in general around the world be much slower than we anticipate?
I can tell you next week after I had my discussion with the Dutch regulator, but my experience is that this is obviously it's a hard thing. And I think in one of the first discussions today, you know, when we heard about how UAE and Dubai is handling its regulation, there's a huge ecosystem here. I mean, but still, it's so difficult to bridge that gap with the traditional rules and boundaries. So that's definitely up to us as well. We have to be creative. We have to find our ways around it. And I think it's also good that we have to try to sometimes take the difficult routes. Not just, you know, simply go to, let's say, the BVIs and register and tokenize there because everybody does it, but also really have a good look at your own country and see if you can sort of find grounds and explain stuff to your regulator, even if you're the first one. But then we pave the way of making this industry more normal, so to speak.
Correct. Mr. Bijan, do you think regulations will come in faster than expected? Because the space is actually advancing much faster than we anticipated to actually expand.
So history shows that regulation comes with adoption, right? as the adoption gets more and more, the regulation will come. I think now is the time to build the ecosystem rather than we focus on regulation. So yeah, that's my idea.
I totally agree with that. Whatever we have as in the market, the regulator will follow the market usually.
That's very nice to hear. We are actually ending our time. So, any last comments from our esteemed panelists on how the gaming industry will move forward, how they're looking at it, and how we should invest in it?
In general, the metaverse, NFTs, GameFi, DeFi are all progressing. The one who wants to invest, what I suggest at the current market, rather than spraying and praying, it's studying and praying. Please study the project you invest in, know about what they do. So you have an idea on what you are investing and you choose the best investment.
Definitely. You gotta invest in crypto first, I believe, like the normal boring project. You gotta analyze the market, and then whatever metaverse project or a gaming project that you are willing to invest into, you gotta try the game, you gotta see the team and the entire resource that they have in order to make sure that the project will sustain.
I think for me, I think just a similar point that I made. I think if we all here, for wherever we come from, if we explain to people in our environment, just explain use cases and what you can do with it and why this is a better technology, I think then we can actually have this whole movement grow. And I think that's what, probably eventually will make this a more inclusive society for everybody. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. It's been an absolute honor to be sitting with such an amazing audience and such esteemed panelists. Thank you so much, Mr. Hadi and Agora Group, for keeping this event together. Please, a round of applause for the great panelists.
Are we gonna take their photo? Or build a